There are so many options out there when selecting the right agent to help you buy or sell a home. How do you know how to find the right one that will represent your interests? I've got some questions that you need to ask to make sure you're not overpaying your agent. Now you might think,
hey, they're all the same. All I need is a door opener, somebody to let me into houses, or I need somebody to help me get my property on the internet. That's all I need.
Well, I'm here to tell you there are plenty of people that are willing to just be door openers or just get your house on the internet. But there's so much more to it. And I have 5 questions that you need to ask your agent when interviewing to find the right one to help you buy or sell your home. Well, think about it. What do you really want when you're buying or selling a home? If you're buying, really you just want to get in and see the properties that are of interest to you, buy the home for the lowest possible price in the shortest amount of time. And if you're selling a property, what do you want? You want to sell your home for the highest possible price in the shortest amount of time to get you on your way. Well, no wonder there's a public perception that all agents are the same. Well, they're not. Here's the scoop. I'm going to tell you what no agent is ever going to tell you. We are 20 years into the internet age, and entering a property onto a platform on the internet is not too hard. Staging your home. It's important to have relationships with a stager to help stage and consult on staging your home. Photography. You need to have a professional photographer take pictures of your home to get that on the internet. If that's all an agent does, if that's all we do, then I think that we are overpaid, grossly overpaid. But what if there's more to it? What if there's more to what you're paying for? What if there's a different expectation that you need to have when you're hiring someone to manage the largest transaction of your life? I'm going to go over 5 questions you need to ask. But first, I want to give you an overview of the different types of business models that you might be working with or choosing from when hiring a real estate agent. Agents work or represent several different business models in each of the markets where they work. You may have seen several of these in your market. I'm not going to go through the pros and cons of each model. I'm going to let you decide. I want you to decide, based on the information I give you today, who and what is the best fit to manage your largest investment and to represent your interest through the transaction. There's the flat rate option. You pay a flat rate, a few $100s. It gets you access to the MLS, which is a broader set of eyes with agents and a buyer pool. It works very similar to a for sale by owner, but you do have a signed agency agreement with that agent to represent you. You are still paying a buyer's agent commission, but it works very similar to a for sale by owner. The discount rate model is often higher than a flat rate. Sometimes they can have tiered options of service. They offer some extra incentives, an add-on for photography or an add-on for some other service. They do get you a different or additional access to the MLS, and some even give you incentive as a rebate to use their service. They will rebate the commission back to you as a consumer. So that's another option. The full service brokerage. The full service brokerage is that it's full service. It's a percentage of the property's sales price. Half of that commission, it's typically 5 to 6% in most markets. Half of that commission is offered to a buyer's agent to bring a buyer to buy your home. In this scenario, different agents may offer additional services as part of their service to differentiate themselves, but you can often find a full service brokerage with this model. Another model that we don't have a lot of experience with here in my market in Utah is the iBuyer. This is a new model, they're positioning themselves as a disruptor in the real estate market. It's an online transactional system where you do the entire thing with you and your device. I don't have a lot of experience with that. We don't have a lot of impact with the iBuyers in our market, but I'm sure they're coming. So how do you know which one is the right fit for you? First of all, you've got to consider which business model works best for you, and then you've got to identify which individual agent might work best to represent your interest. It's important that you do your homework. As you're interviewing agents, I'm going to give you 5 questions, and here they are. Now, no matter which business model or agent you work with, you will be asked to sign an agency agreement. This is an exclusive right to sell your home or a buyer's agency agreement, which designates you to work exclusively with your agent. But equally as important, it commits your agent to certain fiduciary responsibilities. This is a legal term. It's a legal term that binds that agent to act on your behalf and to act in your best interest. Have you ever considered a real estate agent to be a fiduciary? It's kind of a new word, isn't it? Well, think about this. Attorneys are fiduciaries. They have a fiduciary responsibility. CPAs have a fiduciary responsibility. Financial advisors have a fiduciary responsibility. It's a trust given to them to act in the client's best interest. Above and beyond everything else, it's to act in your best interest. As a fiduciary, I bring to the table my experience, my expertise, and the tools to help you navigate the transaction so that your interests are best represented. Some of the fiduciary responsibilities in our agency agreements in Utah include loyalty, full disclosure, confidentiality, and reasonable care. Yes, your agent is bound to care about you and your interest in the transaction. So, here are the 5 questions. How do you know if your agent is representing your interest in the property? Now keep in mind, marketing is still important, but there's a reason why a lot of agents will pay somebody else to go show the homes for them. They may pay an admin to actually put the data on the MLS, but nobody replaces that agent's role as your fiduciary. The first question I would ask an agent is, how do you manage my risk as a client? What is my risk? Throughout the transaction, there are many things that can happen. How does that agent manage your risk when it comes to a low appraisal? Or how do they navigate inspection items? How does that agent, what is their philosophy in negotiating out the initial purchase contract? Ask them for their experience. How do they manage that risk? And ask if they have some examples of a time when their expertise helped protect the risk of their client. The second question, does your agent, or you want to ask your agent, do they explain what dual agency or limited agency is? This is legal in the state of Utah. This enables the agent or the fiduciary to represent both buyer and seller. They're limited in how they can disclose to either side because they have that fiduciary responsibility. But does your agent explain to you how they manage that relationship? I personally don't like limited agency. It's a very difficult place to be for an agent. When you list a property with an agent, do they list that property to the widest possible pool? Or do they only list it to a small segment of the population, maybe their own database, in hopes that they can represent both buyer and seller? Maybe that does represent your interest. Maybe it doesn't. Those are important questions to ask when you are listing a property with an agent. When you're buying with an agent, you might ask them if they have any listings that represent or that match up with what's important to you. How will they navigate that limited agency role? Number 3, how does your agent represent your interest when negotiating inspection items? Maybe there's a problem with the roof. Maybe there's some water damage. Does your agent advise you, or do they simply ask you what you want to do? Oftentimes in a transaction, you don't know what you can do. Maybe there's some things that you can negotiate to mitigate and minimize your risk and obligation in that negotiation. Ask them for examples. Ask them for their suggestions. How do they handle inspection requests? You might be saving on a commission with an agent, but you might not be saving money in an inspection. Remember, there's many ways to manage your risk. Number 4, what process does the agent have in place to ensure that those deadlines are kept in the contract? Do you know why the deadlines were set like they were? Now keep in mind that an agent that misses their deadlines or doesn't manage those deadlines puts you at risk. It puts your dollars at risk. How are they going to ensure and communicate with you when your deadlines are coming up? And how do they manage the negotiation around those deadlines? Number 5, what experience does your agent have in managing multiple offers? In our market in Utah, it is very common to list a property and have multiple offers come in within just a few days. How does your agent handle multiple offers? It's not always the highest offer that wins the day. Sometimes it's a negotiation and leverage on negotiating deadlines that are important to you, or possession dates, or different elements of the transaction that are more important than a few $1,000s. What is their experience in managing your risk and your liability in helping you get the best possible terms for your property when you're listing? When you're buying, how does that agent navigate and represent you in a multiple offer situation? If you have questions about a multiple offer and how to handle it, watch this next video on how I managed a transaction with multiple offers with a recent listing that I had. A true fiduciary will put your interests above and beyond anything else in that relationship. As a fiduciary, I have the skills, the knowledge, and the experience and the tools that I employ on behalf of my clients. That's my role as a fiduciary. As you can see, an agency relationship is far more than hiring a door opener or simply an internet property poster. There are a lot of different options out there, not just in your business model that agents work with, but in the agent themselves. Not all agents work the same. We all have the same fiduciary responsibility, and it's important, no matter which agent or which business model you work with, it's important that you understand the trade-offs. And remember, not all trade-offs come with a dollar sign. Sometimes it can be time, it can be emotional pressure, convenience. There are a lot of ways that you can expend cost in a transaction. And always remember one thing, there's a reason why Rolls-Royce never goes on sale.